So this is a deal that Arsenal have to navigate within the next 7 days. Within the next 7 days, we should have a bid go in if Arsenal are willing to bid and negotiate. Within the next 7 days, Arsenal should be able to trigger the release clause if they already think that 55 million is what they value the player at as well. Or within the next 7 days, Arsenal should be able to walk away. Welcome back to the Cossy Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to a brand new video. This is the latest Arsenal news and transfer news as well. We are back with Glenn for the Cossy and Glenn podcast. I'm very, very surprised. Glenn says we have recorded this for a whole week, and that is absolutely fantastic. I like the fact that you guys have received it very well. Thank you so much for watching and hitting that like button. It comes your way every single day at exactly 8 p.m. and on Glenn's channel, Everything Arsenal, that is at midday every single day. So make sure you don't miss that podcast. Now, in this one, we're going to be diving into what happens this week. Of course, Benjamin Sesko, this is the big week. Arsenal have to decide whether we are going to dive into negotiations with RB Leipzig or just trigger the release clause. It's a deal that most of the time you expect to happen at least this week. Something huge must happen this week. A decision from RB Leipzig, a decision from Arsenal, or even a decision from all parties is expected. We shall be building up on June. How early are Arsenal going to do deals? The likes of Fulham are already tabling bids for us for the likes of Emil Smith-Rowe. So what's going to happen in June as we travel through the Euros? And obviously, Osimhen is pleading with Arsenal. Should Arsenal listen? Should Arsenal pick up the call and go and make offers? Glenn, welcome back to the show, bro. It's interesting that we have consistently done this for the week. And how excited are you for the next 30 days in June as we begin off the transfer windows almost officially?
Absolutely excited. I'm very I'm enjoying all these videos. We're doing 2 podcasts on both channels every single day, and it's going good. Hope you guys are enjoying too. I'm very excited for the transfer window. I mean, things are already picking up, and things were picking up in May, like 2-3 weeks before the transfer window actually opened. And it's not even just for Arsenal, like all the teams are starting to make moves and stuff. So it's going to be very exciting. And not just for the next 30 days, I think the whole of July, the whole of August, it's because next season now we are going to that season expecting to win a couple of things. So it's going to be a very interesting one, man. I'm sure Man City are keeping an eye on who we are signing. We're probably keeping an eye on who Man City are signing, and very interested to hear the names that we are linked to. 3-4 years ago, we'd be linked to players like, no disrespect, but Max Aarons, Arsenal linked to certain goalkeeper, certain striker. It wasn't really exciting, but you start hearing names like you've mentioned, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So this transfer window, we are going to be as serious as we have been in the previous 2-3 transfer windows. There is no worry about that. So if you love a transfer deal, if you love a transfer window, this one is set to be another exciting one for Arsenal fans. Glenn, usually in the first week or first 2 weeks of the transfer window, especially in June, you have a lot of preparation being done. You don't have a lot of deals breaking. However, because of the Euros, clubs are trying to get the deals done before the 14th of June, and that means that whoever wants to sign a player, it's going to be between the 3rd, which is today, and maybe 7th or around 10th. That's around 7 days. And I want us to build into the week that begins for Arsenal. We have offers coming in for some of our players. We'll talk about that later in the show. But also, we have a major priority that cannot go beyond the start of the Euros, and that is Benjamin Sesko. So in terms of building up to Sesko, do you think we might see Arsenal make a bold move this week? Do you see Arsenal bidding, triggering the release clause of the player, or even going ahead to start official negotiations with RB Leipzig?
Yeah, I think we will push it. In terms of times agreed, Arsenal probably talks to Sesko already. So usually these days, Edwin had to do things very quickly, as you've said, fast week. Time for, trying to check. A couple of years ago, we were waiting up until August to make our signings after we already lost the first 2 games of the season, and then we rushed to make signings. 2011 was a good example, 8-2, and then we buy 5 players the next day. These days, we are very quick. I think in terms of quick deals, I think it could be the quickest in terms of getting deals done. We've seen it with Jesus, we've seen it with Havertz, we've seen it with Fabio Vieira, Zinchenko's a July signing. A lot of our signings are very early. Rice as well, if it wasn't for the back and forth, probably could have been done in the first week of June. So we do it very quickly. So I think they're going to try and push it because of the release clause. You don't really want it to go on too long, because there's a couple of things that can happen. Even though Sesko's agreed to personal terms with Arsenal, there's 2 things that can happen. Sesko can say, you know what? Now I've changed my mind. I want to focus on Slovenia right now. We're going to sort out my future after the Euros. So that could be the only way that teams back off, including Arsenal, are like, okay, fine, we'll wait for you to do the Euros, because it might come from the player himself. If it comes from the player himself, there's nothing much you can do. But I also feel like Leipzig could try and, push it a bit, because they don't really want to sell right now. They want to sit and wait, go on holiday, come back on, June 29th or something. And then, hoping that that time release clause is done, they're going to increase the price for him, and they're hoping for, a battle for the player, or a bidding war for the player. They will hope Tottenham come in, Chelsea get serious about him, Man United get serious about him, Arsenal get serious about him. They'd be hoping even a Bayern Munich or Dortmund come in for him in Germany. So that is what they want. So the only two things that can stop us is Leipzig just saying, you know what, we've talked with Sesko, and you decided, he wants to give back to the club, and we're going to wait up until the end of June, and we are going to sell him. There's a couple of players who do that. They're usually like, okay, I'm going to sign a new contract so that you guys get more money for me. There's a couple of players who've done that. I said so. If you love the club and they've done well for you, you can do that. Or Sesko can say, you know what, I'm just going to focus on the Euros first. But if none of that is happening, I think Arsenal will do it very, very quickly to try and do it before the transfer, before the Euro starts, because also they don't want to get into a bidding war if it's a player they really like. Now, the other thing that we don't really know is how much Ateta really, really likes him. We don't know if it's because for players like Declan Rice and stuff, it really looked like Ateta really wanted a player like that. And there's a couple of others, because Jesus, I 100% understood like why Ateta would want in the minimum Steve before. So I thought like this is a player he definitely really wants. If you really, really want Sesko, I think that they're going to do it this week, unless he's looked at it like, okay, Sesko, I think is our first option, but if it doesn't happen, not the end of the world. We have a couple of other options that maybe even more serious options in terms of our ranking. That could be a way as well, but I think they're going to push it this way, because everything points at they really want him. The money you're going to have to pay for him, the age, the way he fits into the system, the way he's going to combine with Havertz. I think everything points out to them wanting him. So I think they're going to push for him this week.
Sure. Now, if you're watching us for the first time, we have already reported that Arsenal, Leipzig, the players' camp as well as other clubs that are interested in Chelsea and Man United all want this to get sorted before the Euros, right? And that means that they want this deal to get done within the next 7 days, because after the next 7 days, it will be just 4 days to the Euros. Players will be entering their camp. Players will be trying to settle. You don't want to disrupt them, and they will actually have to block you. So this is a deal that Arsenal have to navigate within the next 7 days. Within the next 7 days, we should have a bid go in if Arsenal are willing to bid and negotiate. Within the next 7 days, Arsenal should be able to trigger the release clause if they already think that 55 million is what they value the player at as well. Or within the next 7 days, Arsenal should be able to walk away. Now, in terms of all the possibilities, triggering the release clause is the starting official talks, and walking away, or a deal failing. What do you think is more possible, for you? Because I think Arsenal don't want to get bullied, and they know the more Leipzig drag it on, the more other clubs, that come in, right? I think AC Milan have not made their interest formal. They could do that this week. Chelsea could do that this week. And we're going to talk about the meeting between the agent of the player and Todd Boehly that happened because it was in London. And I got to see that, and I was really, really, really concerned. But do you think we might see a deal of this week?
I think we will. In terms of answering that question of which one is more possible to happen, I'm like almost bang in the middle, because I feel like, because it's a release clause, the other team that is purchasing is the one that has the control. If you give the money, you're going to get the player. But also on the other side, I'm like, maybe Sesko himself wants to give something back to the club, and maybe the team itself doesn't really want to sell him right now. They want more money, so they would try and drag it on and talk to Sesko, and Sesko probably trust them more. I don't know. So I think that could be, it's a 50-50 for me. Do I think it's going to happen this week? Man, it's June 3rd. I feel like, because I think they have a game on Wednesday or something, if I'm not wrong, Slovenia. If it's going to happen this week, I think it has to happen like before Wednesday or something. So if the next 3 days you don't hear anything in terms of development, I think you're going to have to wait until the day after the Euros. Now things might change. Obviously, like we may still get him at the end of the Euros. We might still get him for almost the same fee. We might have to add another 5 million. We might have to add another 30 million out of the Euro tax. But again, maybe you look at it the other way. Maybe he has a bad Euros and then you get him for a cheaper way. But I think we're going to hear something this week in terms of development. Now, I'm hoping it could be Arsenal. But again, I don't know, because we've heard about it being linked to other strikers this week, or other strikers wanting to join Arsenal. If it doesn't happen this week, maybe at the end they've decided, you know what, okay, we're going to change our plans. You never know. Yeah. So it's very difficult to talk about it on a Monday. I think by Wednesday or Thursday, we might hear something more. But right now, like, I'm bang in the middle. If you had to force me to say which way it's going to go, I would kind of say 51% he stays up until after the Euros.
Yeah. But for me, what I expect actually is 4 more negotiations with RB Leipzig to start. Arsenal shooting their bids, Arsenal starting to shoot their talks, to shoot their shots. I've seen, I think it was transfers.com that said Arsenal had sent in an offer. I think that is not accurate. I think we might see an offer go in Monday, Tuesday, around there. That's where I expect Arsenal to go in with an offer. Actually, Tuesday, Wednesday, not Monday, but Tuesday, Wednesday. I expect an offer, an update from Fabrizio or Pletigol or David Onstein saying Arsenal made an initial offer, and that offer will be rejected because anything that is below 55 million for me will be rejected by RB Leipzig. So I think it's one that happens because if Arsenal bid twice and they bid closer to 50 million, then they will be they'll be triggering the release clause, right? But if their valuation is 30 million and then 40 million, and then they don't believe the player is worth maybe the 55, that's where it drags on maybe after the Euros or into the Euros. But I think our valuation might not be far away. I mean, John Crosser said Arsenal value him at 45 million. That is around 10 million in terms of difference. And also, still, Arsenal know that if we were to sell, we will be able to recoup that kind of money. So very interesting situation, Benjamin Sesko, guys. This week you expect something huge in terms of a disappointment or in terms of us being happy that we are progressing on that deal. Now, still, Glenn, this week is where we expect at least an offer from Fulham to come to in Arsenal for Emile Smith-Rowe. It's a very, very interesting story because it has developed very quickly with the Telegraph reporting concretely that Fulham want to beat all competition. There's a lot of competition on ESR, but they want to beat competition. They want him to replace Willian, and the manager, Marco Silva, is very serious about him. So ESR, is this a week where we expect Arsenal to receive offers that we cannot turn down from the likes of Fulham and Aston Villa still?
In terms of offers you can't turn down, I think there will be offers that I will definitely be able to turn down. I think there will be a couple of disrespectful offers in terms of what we value him at. Unfortunately, again, it feels like he's going to leave, unfortunately. If there's still a chance it could be a loan deal somewhere, but I think Arsenal would really want that money. If he's going, I think they'd really want that money to also cover the FFP and all that. So I think this week we'll see a couple of offers for him. Not as urgently as Sesko, because there's no release clause with Smith-Rowe and he's not going to the Euros, so that can... maybe it could happen like in the middle of the Euros or something, because there's no rush with that. But we might hear more information of teams like really going for him. Fulham, Aston Villa. I think there's another team that I've forgotten. But yeah, we could hear something in terms of Smith-Rowe. And I think what could push it forward, apart from the price and maybe teams not meeting our expectations in terms of price, is the player being conflicted. He might be thinking, do I really want to leave Arsenal? Well, I'm going to give you an answer like in 3-4 days. I need to speak to, my family, my agent, and then maybe that could push it again. And maybe Aston Villa will say, no, we don't have time. We're going to go and look for another player. You could say, listen, I need like the holiday to think about it. I'm going to make my decision in July. He can also say that he might, because he really loves Arsenal. I heard that he really doesn't want to leave. Yes, he's been told by a couple of people that, listen, you want to play, you have to leave. But like, I'm not sure, man. He really is a big fan of Arsenal. And that's why it would hurt if he leaves. I can't even lie to you. Like, I remember they saved Arsenal. Him and Saka, they saved Arsenal. They're the ones who built the foundation. They're the ones who, dug for us to build this building. They're the ones who did the digging for us. So they did very, very well for us for 2-3 seasons. I still think he might. I have this feeling he might say he wants to stay. I have a feeling he might say he wants to stay, and Arsenal will be like, okay, fine. If you want to stay, we're going to keep you, and then the other teams will pull out. But for the next 1 month, we're definitely going to be hearing stories from this journalist, stories from this journalist about Smith Rowe not wanting to leave. Others saying Smith Rowe has made a decision to leave. Others may saying Fulham made an offer for 20 million. Arsenal don't want him to leave, or maybe Smith Rowe wants to leave, but then Fulham, Aston Villa say 20 million for him, and Arsenal like, not 20 million. 25 million? No, maybe they'll say no as well. Maybe they'd say they want like 35 million, because I'm hearing they want like 40 from Nketiah as well. I mean, I don't think you're going to get that kind of money for those players who haven't really been playing. But if we really value him, into England international, he's played for England before. He had like a very good season in the Premier League, so you've seen him deliver in the Premier League already. It's going to be an interesting one, but I think for him, there's no rush. We'll hear maybe one thing this week, and then maybe development, mainly because maybe he's not sure about what he wants to do.
Yeah. Now, to give you an update on the Emile Smith Rowe situation, it was confirmed yesterday in the last 24 hours that Fulham are going to be making early bids to sign Emile Smith Rowe. They're convinced that he will move because the player wants to play regular game time, and Arsenal are not in any way, shape, or form going to stand in his way, especially with Fabio Vieira being being looked at as one of the players that could actually stay at Arsenal this summer. So this week, again, for me, I expect an offer from somewhere for Emile Smith Rowe, and I expect something from from Arsenal when it comes to Benjamin Sesko. Now, still on Sesko, because we usually look at Arsenal's perspective. Todd Boehly was pictured in a meeting with the agent of Benjamin Sesko. We know that Chelsea appreciate him, but we also know that Chelsea are really big on him, especially now that they have a new manager in Enzo Maresca. He appreciates him very much. Do you think that we might hear a "here we go" from Fabrizio, Benjamin Sesko to Chelsea, because they are so good at working with those deals very quickly? They're very good at just agreeing deals within a very short period of time.
We could hear it. I have seen your videos talking about, Man United and Chelsea can get him. But if Chelsea end up getting him, I don't think it's going to be a case of Todd Boehly, attracted him more than Edu Arteta, or, he's willing to go to the Chelsea project more than the Arsenal project. It could be two things. Mr. Todd Boehly is back again, to spoil for us. Good thing he didn't spoil for us.
Manchester United's and Newcastle's efforts to sign Tosin Adarabioyo. So we know he's back with the chaos.
The main thing that I would think about, because they have a salary cap over there for like 150,000, but I don't think Sesko could be that close. So that's why we'd have a better chance of getting the other striker rather than Sesko ahead of Chelsea. Now, I don't think you'll be more convinced by their project. The one thing that will help, obviously, is the money. Now, Chelsea can go and say, you know what, forget the release clause. We're going to give you, 60 million right now. Or they can go and say, forget the release clause. We're going to give you the release clause and then, some benefits on top of that. If we qualify for the top 4 next season, you're going to get an extra 5 million. If he scores 12 goals, you're going to give an extra 5 million. So that could be the only way. And not because of Sesko, because of Leipzig. Leipzig would be like, okay. And then maybe it promised the agent, listen, you're going to give you this amount of money, these bonuses and all that, and you're going to guarantee you certain appearances. If you go to Arsenal, you're going to rotate with Havertz, you're going to rotate with Trossard. You see they're linked with Osimhen. As we are no longer linked with Osimhen, maybe Todd Boehly can tell him all that. If you come here, you're going to get guaranteed at least 35 Premier League games. And maybe that's the thing that could attract Sesko. But in terms of attracting Leipzig, more in terms of financial way. And the other thing that could make Chelsea get him and not us, if Leipzig say, no, we want 60 million, and then Arsenal decide, we're going to pull out, because there's a deal. Was it Caicedo? We pulled out of the Caicedo deal very quickly. People are expecting us to get Caicedo, and then the next day we had Arsenal no longer interested in Caicedo. Yeah. That is something that can pop up again. It can pop up tomorrow like surprise. Arsenal no longer interested in Sesko now. And you hear that, people will be sad. But whenever you hear that, something else big is coming. Last time I remember saying, I don't think Arteta and Edu are stupid to let Caicedo go if they don't have a plan? No, he's going to go to Man City, Declan Rice, so he won't choose Arsenal. I was like, no, listen, trust these guys. We are no longer that team that used to finish number 7, number 8. We've now competed for the title once. Declan Rice will join us. And people are like, no, there's no chance Arsenal can get players ahead of Man City. I think that transfer window has helped, knowing that we can get players ahead of Bayern, players ahead of Man City and all those teams. So that has helped. So they could say, okay, no, we've changed our mind. Or maybe they even just completely changed their mind on Sesko because they've had a chance to get other strikers that have become available. And they're like, okay, Chelsea can have him. So those things usually get to know later. But for them, they get to know quickly. Maybe they've already agreed a long time ago with Sesko about everything, and they know they've already agreed Sesko is going to sign on June 30th. Maybe they've already agreed all of these things, and as we are panicking, they're just like calm. Edu is making his chicken and barbecue, and he's relaxing, making rice, and people are worried. Why is Edu not doing anything? They already know because the rice one 2 weeks before Edu was posting pictures with rice. They already know it was done. So that could be the only reason I can see him going to Chelsea. Maybe the agent himself knows that Arsenal is not longer interested. Maybe Arsenal have told them, okay, we've changed our mind, but the media outside are still reporting it. Then they've told the other teams, listen, he is available, and then Chelsea have come in for him. Well, obviously, every team has to try and convince him, so it could be Arsenal still interested in him, and Chelsea also want him. Now it's up to the player and the team to decide.
Yeah, sure. Now, just to remind you guys, Chelsea, Man United, Arsenal are all still interested in Benjamin Sesko. There is no final decision when it comes to whether he's going to be rejecting the proposal on his table from RB Leipzig or he's going to actually accept it. We are still waiting for the player and his entry. At least when it comes to deal week, this week, we will have a confirmation from Ben Sesko whether he's going to be staying at RB Leipzig or he's going to be moving on. And after that decision, we will know whether either has Arsenal still have a chance or we don't have a chance when it comes to Ben Sesko. I don't expect a lot of a lot of surprises this week. I don't expect deals to be done and dusted this week unless we trigger someone's release clause. Like I said, I think it's going to be a preparation week, especially when it comes to Sesko and Emil Smith-Rowe, and then a couple of other things will happen in the weeks that actually proceed. Now, Glenn, June is such a very interesting time of the year, especially now the Arsenal are interested in around 5-6 players that have release clauses that expire in June or by the end of June. And this is the question. How many signs do you think Arsenal will make in June? I mean, there is a Zubimendi, his contract, his release clause expires in June, same as Guimaraes, same as Sesko. I don't know the Michael Olise one, but we know that there is a release clause there, and Nico Williams as well. So many release clauses, many of them ending in June. Do you think Arsenal could take advantage of that and say, hey, look here, let's trigger 2-3 release clauses and get out of the transfer window in June, or they will wait for the opportunity that the Euros present, look at talents, look at different players, and go in for go into negotiations with a pool of options?
Do you know the exact date when we're playing Man United and Liverpool in preseason? Is it like 20-something of July or something like that?
We're playing 21st.
That's the first one.
Yeah, Liverpool 21st and 27th. Man United.
I heard you're trying to play Bournemouth around 24th as well.
We will have 2 surprise games in preseason, but they have not yet confirmed them. I don't have confirmation, but Bournemouth could be one of them.
So if it's July, I think the player, I think because there's US and Copa America this time, I think the players are expected back. Maybe the ones who have not played international competitions are expected back in July, the start as usual, and then the players who've played like the Salibas and the Declan Rice, and you expect them to go farther in the competition, and maybe those ones will be back like 18th or 19th, depending on the player. Because I remember there's a player who finished the tournament and they're like back immediately. I don't remember who it was. I don't know if it was Alexis Sanchez or someone, and then another player from a different team. Now,
since that can finish a tournament and come back, instantly at Arsenal, that could be Kieran Tierney.
So around that time, if you're starting the preseason as usual, going to Germany and as we usually do, then I'd be saying we're definitely going to get at least 2 signings in June. But now, since things are different, I think you're going to get 1 signing in June, and then maybe 2 departures in June. And then in July, not end of July, now the beginning of July, July 1st to like July 10th, we're going to complete another deal, and then here another 2 people leaving, and then now like at the end of July, beginning of August, you're going to hear at least 2 more. Now it could end up being 5 signings. I'm thinking 4, but it could end up being 5 signings depending on what happens to Ramsdale or Partey. I don't know what is going to happen, but I'm going to predict 1 in June, 1 beginning of July, and then 2 in the middle of July, just before, like Zinchenko came in after they already started preseason.
Yeah, sure.
Jesus came in before, Vieira came in before, Havertz came in before, Rice came in before, but that was a longer time before, because there wasn't any international competitions. Now it depends as well if they're linked to, all their players are linked to are playing international competitions, so that could also change. But I'd say at least 1 deal this
in June.
this month.
Yeah, because it's interesting when I look at the pool of players that Arsenal want to sign. Yusuf Fofana might not play for France. Don't have confirmation, but he might not play for France at the Euros. Guimaraes will be at the CONCACAF, so that is midfield, and Martin Zubimendi will be at the Euros. So that means that if you want Zubimendi and Guimaraes as priority, you're going to have to play the waiting game. You're going to wait until July, later on in July. When you look at the winger options, Nico Williams is going at the Euros. Mike Olise, I don't think he's going for with France. I don't think he's there. So Olise might be an option. Kudus, obviously, he's not going to any of the competitions. We know why. So it's interesting to see what Arsenal are going to do. Are we going to rush into our deals and do them quickly just to avoid the Euro chaos and Euro saga? Because after the Euros, many people and many clubs are going to be exchanging contacts, calling one another, transfer agents doing their thing, hyping the prices and moving their players around. Would you feel safer if we did all our deals within the first 1.5 months, or would you want to see some of the exciting talents first, and then you're like, let's go for? I've seen Nico Williams, but I had not seen Lamine Yamal. Let's change options. Would you want to see some of the stars at the Euros being linked with Arsenal, and maybe happening?
I mean, I usually want that first deal to be done, whether it's in terms of an exciting signing, whichever position, or a striker this time, because a lot of people want to strike. I think those 2 kind of signings would boost people's confidence after at least you've gotten one, because there was some period where we were being linked to like 5 players and then all of them end up not joining. So if you link to like 5 and then 2 of them join, you're like, oh, okay, we can take time with the others. Because the moment we signed Havertz and Rice, I was like, listen, we can take time with the Timber one, we can take time with all the others, because we've already gotten these 2. We can now even have an opportunity to, look around for any opportunities that come up. Because I don't think they'd talked to Havertz before the season ended. I think Chelsea just made him available, and it was like, oh, you know what?
Yeah,
we can get him. I would love to be in a meeting with that Tenedu, because I would like to know, like, when that message came in that Havertz was available, what was their reaction? Number 2, what was their plan before getting Havertz for the transfer window? Or maybe had they already talked to Havertz back in March and they knew he was going to leave, he was already uncomfortable there. I'd really like to have a meeting with them.
It's interesting to see whether, if Kai Havertz didn't move, we would have competed with Man United on Mason Mount. Yeah,
I would have loved to do a meeting that they do ask them those questions. And also this particular transfer window, are you trying to get deals done early? If you don't get the deals done early, is it because you didn't want to, or is it because it's difficult? This time it's more difficult than the others. I love to ask all of those questions, because it's very difficult to know what they're planning to do. Yes, we are linked to, like, we are not linked to as many players as we used to back in 2019, 2020. There's a time we were really linked to Benzema, Higuain, Arsenal going to sign Ronaldinho before he retires, like all those crazy signings. But these days it's just the usual. These days we hear about 5-6 players, mostly 10, and then you hear, okay, so we usually put focus, like last transfer window, there's a lot of focus on Rice and Caicedo, a lot of focus on Havertz, a lot of focus on, are you going to get a defender from Ajax? The previous season it was Lisandro Martinez. Are you going to get to this one, that one? So this time round I feel like it's going to be different because of that Euros and Copa America. I wouldn't give you a definite answer in terms of what they're planning to do, in terms of how quickly they're trying to get the signings done, because it's very hard to predict. So I think we'd get a better picture within the first week of within this coming week, between now and Saturday, I think we'll get to know what if teams are planning to get the deal done quickly. Because if it reaches Saturday and we've not bought, and Man City have not bought, and Liverpool have not bought, and Man United have not bought, and the users have started, then you might think maybe they're waiting for the years to end. Maybe they're waiting to see Sesko performing in a competition like that to see how he does. You never know.
Yeah, so it's interesting because clubs will want to hold on to their players for quite some time until after the Euros, because they know, the Euros will set a standard on the market. If I have a Victor Gyökeres and Sesko is going for 70 million because of the Euros, I'm definitely going to sell Victor Gyökeres at 90 million. So it's going to be very hard to negotiate with teams. It's going to be very, very difficult for us to break teams down. But in terms of sales, that is where we could actually thrive, because the clubs that want to buy our players, I don't think there are clubs that are willing to pay hundreds of millions or 60 millions. And they're not clubs that want to enter into bidding wars. They're clubs that want to do their deals quietly, quickly, and cleanly. So would you say you see Arsenal doing more departures, in the first part of the transfer window? Because that's where you have Emile Smith-Rowe maybe moving to Fulham, maybe moving to Aston Villa. That's where you have Edin Ketia, whose price will not be affected by the Euros, maybe anyway. Moving to a Crystal Palace, or moving to a Leicester City that's interested, and then Albert Samuel Kongas. Do you see June being more of Arsenal working to offload and then to load after the Euros?
I think you're still going to get a signing done this month, but I think most are going to be outgoings because of also the number of players we have that are going to move on. We have a lot of players that are linked to the moves away, man. A lot, especially the ones who are coming back from loan deals. I don't know, and Marquinhos is coming back, for example. Mokonkwo is coming back, even the ones that people don't even really talk about. I think you're going to see a couple of them maybe potentially moving to more loan spells, and maybe Arsenal trying to gather more money. So I think we are going to see at least 2 departures in June, maybe even more. If we count Cedric and Elneny, I'd say we're going to see at least 5 departures in June in terms of players moving out of Arsenal, because they want to clear the wage structure. Maybe they want to do the planning and stuff, and to see whether they're going to have extra money to sign an extra player. I think we're going to see more departures, because also we have a lot of players who will depart, and also in terms of financial, they might want to sell these players before getting a second or third signing. So yes, I think there's going to be more departures. And also in terms of our players, I don't like saying it, but some of the players that you're trying to let go, it would be easier to get those deals done, If you want like a Lokong, I think it would be easier than trying to get an Osimhen, so those deals would be easier. And also we are the worst team in terms of selling over not just 1 year, over the last 20 years. I saw, we are going to talk about this some other time, but I saw that the most expensive player we sold was Chamberlain for 35 million. 35 million is our record. Chelsea has at 100, Coutinho, Liverpool 100, West Ham Rice 100. All of those teams have sold players for millions of money, but for us it's usually like a couple of millions, and that's it. So now people are saying maybe that could be because we're not a selling club, but we sold a lot of players over the years,
we 2011, 2012. I actually think why we have not sold well is because we have been handling our contract situations very, very poorly. So by the time we're selling a player, like Robin Van Persie, like Alex Sanchez, by the time you want to sell a player, they're either in their final year or they have rejected a new deal, and you don't have negotiations. There was a time
Alexis Sanchez was on the same level as Hazard, Coutinho, those players that were dominating the Premier League, and both of those teams got 100 million plus. We didn't get anything. Ozil free. The one that usually annoyed me the most actually was Ramsey. Ramsey was coming from 2 final goals, and he had a 2013-2014 season, incredible, and free. You didn't get anything for him. Aubameyang, nothing. Like I said, nothing. It's crazy. All of those players, and even back in the days, you said Van Persie, something like 20 million. It's also, I know the market was different those days, but if you compare to even Ferdinand back in the early 2000s, he was signed for 25 million by Leeds from West Ham. You have to ask yourself, how did you lose those players like that? So our contract situation is bad. But I think recently, Edu has done a good job in terms of that. These days, we signed the contracts early, even in terms of manager, they're trying to get the deal done early, wasting time, so that if a player comes in, we're going to sell a lot of money. Now, the players that we have right now, if you're ever going to sell them, I think Saka is being valued at almost 200 million. I think Odegaard is like 7th on that list, around 130 something or 40 something. Saliba would be close to 100. Gabriel is up there. So yeah, if we were to sell players right now, it would be great. But the ones that we are trying to sell, I don't think they would attract too much money. That's the problem. And we'll be saying we want 40 million for Nketiah, we want 30 million for Lokonga, and teams will just sit there like, yeah, we're not going to give you that. And then it's going to potentially get to a point where Arsenal just say, you know what, I don't want him here, just let him go. Now, hopefully not. Hopefully we stand our ground and say, no, we want this kind of money for Nketiah, this kind of money for, even if they're trying to sell Zinchenko or whatever, you want this kind of money, even Tierney. So let's see, but still, there's a couple of others that is going to be easier to do, like a Lokonga, and I think a Tierney, if Atso just doesn't want him at all, it's going to be an easier deal to do. So I think, we're going to get more departures done this month as well.
Yeah. So talk to us in the comment box below. What do you see happening in June? What would you love to see? And that's very, very important as well. Should Arsenal do early signings, or should we wait for the talents that are going to be displayed at the Euros, and we wait to get the cream de la cream in Europe's premier international tournaments? I mean, you could see, one player that you've not been expecting, and then, you could definitely try to pick them up. But at least the last Euros we have seen and the World Cup we have seen, Arsenal are not going to be interested and not going to be, signing a player because of 2-3 good performances. Either we followed them or they're not on our list. But we'll wait and see what happens. We've been building up to this week and also this month. Now, Victor Osimhen, however much reliable the news outlets are, Victor Osimhen to Arsenal seems very unlikely. But I want us to talk about the fact that he's put in a transfer play, and we are also hearing talks that he's waiting on Arsenal. That is huge. Like, that makes Osimhen look desperate to join Arsenal, because he's a top striker. There's so many clubs that need a top striker right now, and I think there's the Saudi Arabian market that is very, very open at the moment. Don't think he will go there, but I think there is PSG as well. There is that's been knocking on his door. Do you believe that Osimhen is waiting on Arsenal, and do you believe that he's sold on to the idea that it could happen this summer?
I remember you saying yesterday or 2 days ago that it might be a smoke screen. There's that possibility, but I actually do feel like you'd want Arsenal. I mean, that could be. Maybe I'm blinded by Arsenal, but from what I've seen, from what I've heard players saying about Edu and the culture that is at Arsenal, I've heard Trossard saying, when I heard Arsenal want me, I didn't even think twice. I wanted to go there. Rice said we played against Arsenal right after the World Cup. They beat us 3-1. And whenever they didn't win the league, I looked at that team and I was like, this team is definitely going to win the league soon. I want to go there. That's the manager, the way was talking to me, even in a West Ham shirt. We've had a lot of players saying that. Jesus, we've had Ramsdale saying it. You can't have all of those players saying good things about the team and about Arteta and Edu, and then all of them, it's a lie. Nah, one or two players might exaggerate, but I don't think all of them exaggerate from all the things that they say. Havertz was another one. Havertz said, I did not think twice. I spoke to Arteta once and I wanted to join the project. So Osimhen might want that. Osimhen might want that as well, especially now that Chelsea are not interested in him. If Chelsea was still interested, I would say this guy, he's hanging out with Drogba and, he wants to go to Chelsea. As you said, I'd have been a Chelsea fan. I'd have been not sure. But since he still wants to join the Premier League, and there's not any other team that really... Well, okay, the other teams, like there's 15 teams who potentially cannot afford him. And then the ones that can, Man City already have Haaland, maybe the new coach, Liverpool, maybe you'd want to give Nunes more of a chance as a central striker to play every single game, as he was in Benfica back in the day. Chelsea already signed Jackson. But, they don't really want Osimhen right now. They've changed that deal. They want to find a way to sell Lukaku. So basically that leaves us with Man United. But Man United also have Højlund. So the only team that could join is Arsenal or Tottenham. And Tottenham as well. I've never really seen Tottenham splash that kind of money for a player. So it's only Arsenal. So that makes me believe that, he wants to join the Premier League and the only team is Arsenal, and maybe it's excited by the project. But obviously there's a little bit of doubt, especially in terms of not being sure if he's going to play every single day and style of play. Surely Osimhen has looked at that team and is like, am I going to play every single day though? Havertz is there, Jesus is still there. You know, I don't want to go and play a place where I'm going to sit on the bench sometimes. They're the kind of strikers who want to play 38 games with a 38. Like Alan Shearer back in the day, he was like, if I'm on the bench, I used to get annoyed even if I'm 5-0 up. Even when we are 6-0 up, I cannot give anyone a penalty even if I've scored 4 goals. I'm going to take it myself. So there's strikers like that. I think that is what Osimhen or Sesko could bring to us if any of them ends up joining. So I think that could be the case. But I do think, yes, he wants to join. He'd probably say he wants to join Arsenal. But in terms of Napoli, I think Vadio and a couple of other people who know more about the Napoli negotiator, I think it would be still hard to get the deal done, even with the release clause and everything. But yes, I believe he'd want to join Arsenal because of the project that we have.
Yeah, actually, I would look at it from the perspective of there is no other club in England. He wants to play in the Premier League, and Arsenal are the available option. So he's really waiting and probably hoping something happens. Now, if the Benjamin Sesko release clause expires before Arsenal trigger it, is this Osimhen deal a deal that you would see happening in a way of Arsenal not overpaying for a raw talent like Sesko, and probably not going back and forth with Leipzig because it looks like they'll have won the battle, right? And the war, and then Arsenal decide to sign an Osimhen who is available, who is proven, and who is like immediate value for money.
That could be the case, but it could also be Osimhen has made himself available, and Arsenal have been like, okay, Sesko, we are sorry. We've changed our mind. You're going to go for Osimhen. That is a possibility, and the one that you said is also a possibility. If it drags too much with Sesko, maybe Arsenal can be like, yeah, we want Osimhen. But the style of play and the budget is the thing that is worrying me. As you know, I don't think it's good for a coach to just change these plans, and we definitely know if there's a coach who's definitely not going to change their plans, it's Guardiola and Arteta. We're not just going to change these plans because we're going to try and fit one player. He just came and told the likes of Aubameyang, listen, that is the door. And he has our best player, won us the trophies and everything. We thought maybe even with Ozil, since they played together, it'd give him more of a chance. You're like, no, listen, out you go. So if you don't fit into the system, you're not going to play. And I think that's the right way to do it. If it's been working, you have to go with the system. So there's a possibility that if Leipzig push on too much, we might change our minds and go for someone like an Osimhen. But it could also be before that to just change our minds and go for an Osimhen. We could also just change our minds on Sesko and go for a third target that maybe we've been not really told about. That could also be the case. But it's not always that players like Osimhen become available. Now, the other thing is someone like a Todd Bollywood here, Arsenal want Mudryk, and then he's like, oh, let's go and try and get him. I don't think at 10 they do operate that way. I don't think that here Chelsea want Osimhen. They're like, oh, let's try and go and get him. I don't think they operate that way until we're not going to mention this, and until they make 180 pages. I don't think they just sign you after writing 2 pages. I don't think that is the case. So it could be either of the two. Either they decide to get him instead of Sesko right from the beginning because they feel like Osimhen is now available or he's made himself available for Arsenal, or they could feel like, okay, the Sesko deal is pushing too much. Osimhen is not at any international competition. We want to get a striker before we start our preseason. Let's get him.
Yeah, of course, the other option could be that the agent is using Arsenal to attract lucrative offers from elsewhere. It has happened with Manuel Locatelli. It happens in the Italian mafia football business. It is something they do. It is something they enjoy to do. So don't be surprised if Arsenal are being used as the lead name, and then Osimhen ends up signing for PSG, or he ends up signing for, I don't know, Real Madrid or Barcelona, whoever would be willing to pay that release clause. Aurelio De Laurentiis is still very, very strong on his word. He doesn't want to negotiate with anyone. It is £113 million, or you're not getting Victor Osimhen. We'll be keeping eyes on that one. Now, Glenn, ESR is on the verge, and I'm going to say on the verge of making the decision of his life to stay or to go. However, if he decides to go, where do you think Arsenal should sell? Outside the Premier League, inside the Premier League? And if we sold inside the Premier League, we have 2 concrete options: Fulham, Aston Villa.
Of course, the teams that ruined our Premier League title. Those are the options.
Of course.
Aston Villa and Fulham. Now, in terms of, because people don't really want to sell him to a team that is going to compete with us, I don't think Aston Villa and Fulham are going to compete with us. Aston Villa are higher, yes. But in terms of outside the Premier League and sending him to the Championship or whatever, no. I feel like he's a very good player. He's done a lot for us. I wouldn't really want to like punish him. If he wants to go to a particular team, I'd tell him, listen, go. I feel like you're a good player. You can go and do it. All the best. You're still an Arsenal fan. All the best to you. I mean, all that. But in terms of the team, which I'd prefer between those two teams, Fulham is still a very good team, though. Fulham is a very good team. I mean, I've seen them now with Muniz now playing. Willian has looked very good there. The players like Castagne and Robinson, if they're going to both stay, they've been looking very good. In terms of their midfield, I think eventually the likes of Palhinha and Robinson could move on, but that team is like very good, and they have a very good manager in Marco Silva. They've done well, so I think that is a project they could do well. I mean, I'm seeing like a Palhinha, and then in front of him, Smith Rowe and I've forgotten the player. I don't know. It's not Harry Wilson. There's another player who usually plays in that midfield. The captain. Is it Kane? Sometimes he can play. Like I can see Kane in front of Smith Rowe and in front of Palhinha. That could be a position he can play well. He can even go and be the number 10 in behind Muniz. So that could be an opportunity. Now for Aston Villa, I'm not sure he goes there to start anyway. So that's the thing again. I'd be telling him, if you're not going to start at Aston Villa, rather than just stay at Arsenal, you're going to play more competitions. Yes, Aston Villa in the Champions League, but we are planning to go far in the FA Cup, far in the Carabao Cup. You're going to get more chances. So if it's a team that
would be a lie.
That would be a lie. So if you move on, let it be to a team that, yes, it's in the Premier League, fine, but you have a guarantee that you're going to play every single day. I think it's going to get more opportunities at Fulham, because next season Aston Villa.
Also I think at Aston Villa, he would actually want to play, and he would actually start
ahead of who?
Start for them, because for me in that midfield
unless someone leaves
in that midfield at Villa, there are two players that I think he doesn't get ahead of. That is Douglas Luiz and Kamara.
I don't think McGinn is going to be dropped from that team. He's too important to them.
He brings something very different, Joe McGinn, and he's their captain, so probably you're hearing that. But in terms of the wide areas, right? They have Diaby there, they have Zaniolo there, and they have
Bailey.
They have Bailey. I don't think.
And Buendia could come back as a number 10. And he was playing so well for them.
And number 10, and then have Jacob Ramsey as well. But
too many options.
When I assess their whole squad, obviously they have Tielemans too. But when I assess their whole squad, I'm thinking if he can stay fit, you have a Leon Bailey who is in and out of sick pay situations, so he has to stay fit, honestly. And then, of course, the workload they have to deal with in terms of Premier League, Champions League, and all playing in all competitions. I can see him start in certain games. I can see him have like 15, 17 starts at Aston Villa.
That's just in the Premier League.
All competitions.
He said if he says he's going to get the same at Arsenal, he'll be lying.
Yeah, honestly, if we told him that he's going to get 15 starts at Arsenal, it's a huge risk, and we'll be lying to him.
Because Aston Villa, I don't feel like he's going to get that number of games, because all of those players are coming back, and they're in the Champions League. They could bring another 2 players or something like that. But there's always a chance Luiz could end up leaving. There's always a chance this particular player could end up leaving. You never know. So that's an interesting one, man. That's an interesting one. Maybe tomorrow we can also talk a bit more in terms of potential swap deals. We'll look into that and stuff. Yeah, sure. If they really want him, and I'm hearing a lot of Arsenal fans value him at around 35 million in terms of Smith Rowe. It's such an interesting one. I mean, not interesting one for me, because I want him to stay. I'd rather have it like around the other players, but at the end of the day, I'm an Arsenal fan, not really a player fan.
Yeah. So, guys, talk to us in the comment box below. What do you think should happen with Emile Smith Rowe? Lots of people on my channel, I would say above 50%, think that Emile Smith Rowe is a player to keep, especially in terms of having squad players and fringe players. But also, there is that 45% that says, Cossy, you've got to move him on. He's one of the players that have failed to work in the last 2-3 years at Arsenal. You've got to move him on. You've got to look beyond, the player, and then you focus on the project. You also focus on the club. Now, the Cossy and Glenn podcast comes your way every single day on the Cossy Arsenal podcast at exactly 8 p.m. premiering. Make sure you do watch it. And of course, at Glenn's channel, Everything Arsenal, that happens on every single daily basis at midday, right?
Lastly, before you end it, I put a poll earlier today to say keep, sell, or loan Smith Rowe. Okay. So far, the list is loan him 23%.
Okay.
And then the middle one is keep him 35%, okay. And then 43% want to sell him. That's almost 1,000 votes. So
definitely, you can see that there is a bit of admiration from the fan base, but there is also a bit of frustration from the fan base as well. But I want to say this before we end. Emile Smith Rowe is, with no doubt, with no clear doubt, one of the best talents that we have seen England produce in the last 10 years, or even I think 10 years. And also at Arsenal right now, in terms of talent, you cannot write him off. He's one of the most talented players, in the squad. Thank you so much for joining us. We are always live on every single daily basis. The Arsenal channel, Everything Arsenal channel, has a lot of content for you. So make sure you do check it out. Glenn has almost 2-3 uploads a day. And of course, you know the transfer thing on Cossy Arsenal podcast. We always run the transfers. We're going to be giving you lots of build-ups to the summer, lots of build-ups to every month, what should be happening. The confirmed targets will be coming out. That video should be coming out very, very soon. And the plan, what Arsenal are planning to do. Have a blessed night.
I lost my best friend to 23. She left her body and hovered above me. I saw no shadow, I looked around, searched every building and home that I found. I saw no shadow, but felt a glow. The warmth inside me, it kept me afloat. It felt like heaven, it found my bones and gave me comfort when I feel alone. Now you're gone, I'm alone. I guess it's time to get better. Through the pain, I will go alone. If I fall, break my bones, I will scream even louder. 'Cause I'm not dying alone. I lost my best friend to 23. She left her body and hovered above me. My best friend to 23. I heard the heavens crying above me. They gained an angel, I lost a friend. I felt like dying again and again. I went through hell, stared at death, but I keep fighting with each living breath. I saw no way out from where I stood. Felt like the fire had burned me for good. Now you're gone, I'm alone. I guess it's time to get better. Through the pain, I will go alone. If I fall, break my bones, I will scream even louder. 'Cause I'm not dying alone. I lost my best friend.